Okay, Casey Means to the rescue. Casey Means, Michael's primary care doctor, has been named Trump's Surgeon General nominee, and it's triggering a pretty big backlash among his supporters. And who can blame them after the clips we just played of Pam Bondi and Kash Patel? Now, after seeing those clips of Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, I'm wondering if Michael is going to take that information that he just saw, witnessed with his own eyes, and said, we're getting played. I wonder if he's going to apply that same sort of logic and skepticism to Casey Means. Michael, go.
Oh, I go first. Well, is that in that scenario, is it Casey Means' fault?
I'm sorry, what?
In that scenario that you just described, is it Casey Means' fault, or is she a useful idiot?
Is what her fault?
That she's not delivering 100% of what people want?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying that Pam Bondi and Kash Patel are like flip-flopping on like the worst possible stuff, like stuff that people literally went to the ballot box to vote on. Like that's why one of the reasons people voted for Donald Trump. And I'm just wondering if that sort of, you see that now, maybe that inspires a little bit of skepticism about your hero, Casey Means.
Casey Means is not my hero, but I saw this sweet little grandma
doctor.
No, I wish.
I said that too.
I saw this sweet old grandma named Grandma Sandy Lucas. She's Sandy Lucas 1 on X if you want to follow her. And I kind of take her view on this. The practicing MDs who they're criticizing Casey Means for not being have failed us. The whole system of credentialism that they're pushing, including a person that we like on the show, Dr. Bowden, and others, reminds me of what Douglas Murray did on the Joe Rogan podcast, where it's like, you're not an expert, so you can't have this position. And then I get where the skepticism comes from. What your position on COVID was during COVID is important because that was like the big test. But it's not the only factor. I think we should be celebrating this nomination of Casey Means as Surgeon General. It's a huge improvement to what we've got now, and we should be directing our energy and anger at the real enemies of Americans' health, which do not include Casey Means.
Charles, go.
So I think the thing is, Dr. Bowden and others, they don't fall in that camp that you just mentioned. There are some that do, who are practicing MDs, who are criticizing her simply because she is not a practicing MD. They're criticizing her, yes, including that she's not a practicing MD, but that they put everything on the line and lost everything during those years because they believed in this cause, this medical freedom cause, and they fought alongside of each other. And then now you have someone who did not fight alongside of them. And not only did she not fight alongside of them, but like actively ignored them when they attempted to pull her in. And in many interviews refused to condemn the mRNA vaccine, to say that she'd be interested in pulling it from the schedule. And so it comes down to, somebody put it interestingly, where they were like, for her, it's mRNA is fine for all, but Fruit Loops be damned. Like, as long as there are no Fruit Loops, then we're good. Because when you watch a lot of these interviews with Callie and Casey, they both Callie and Casey, they keep doing this thing where they'll mention, like, somebody will bring up the vaccine and they'll be like, yes, but obesity is such a big, and it's like always back to that issue. And so it's like, yes, the food is the problem, but there's so much more to that. And then that is just the tip of the iceberg when you start to look into this. I mean, from Nicole M. Night Shalhalaham, she has turned against her.
I got it pulled up.
All right.
You want to pull it up?
Yeah, go ahead, because I've got a lot more.
Okay, let me pull this up. I want to hear what you have to say. Nicole Shamalama Ding Dong. Yes, it's very strange. Doesn't make any sense. I was promised that if I supported RFK Jr. and his Senate confirmation that neither of these siblings would be working under HHS or in an appointment, and that people much more qualified would be. I don't know if RFK very clearly lied to me or what is going on. It has been clear in recent conversations that he is reporting to someone regularly who is controlling his decisions, and it isn't President Trump. With regards to the siblings, there is something very artificial and aggressive about them, almost like they were bred and raised Manchurian assets.
And so she also had an interesting interview with Glenn Beck today where she goes in a little more detail about it. But in terms of the asset part, that's interesting too. A lot of people have pointed to the fact that they came from this meteoric rise out of nowhere. She wrote this book, there really are very few references in the book. The acknowledgments are at the end of the book. Her father wrote a book about transgenderism. It's a child's book about transgenderism, which they say only sold a handful of copies, and she has distanced herself from that belief. But interesting, he worked for the Rockefellers, their World Economic Forum people. They come from this Silicon Valley world. She runs this biometric startup where obviously being Surgeon General and running this company would, I think, or founding this company rather, would prove beneficial. There's just a lot of stuff there. And I just find it, what I'm confused by is that people who question everything are not questioning this. Like, all this stuff is there. And like, they just popped on the scene. Like, they just popped on the scene in the past 4 or 5 years. And now she's Surgeon General, but nobody's questioning it. Like, they're just like, all right, she's great. And that's what I'm confused by. That's what I don't understand.
Okay, so there's a lot there. First thing I want to point out, I have the Nicole Shanahan tweet here too on my screen, just in case we needed it. She was promised that if she advocated for RFK's nomination, come on, she was advocating for RFK's nomination either way, and she didn't need to be promised anything. So, like, hold your horses, sweetie. I'm a big Nicole Shanahan fan, but like, that in and of itself on its face is not true. So I find skepticism there. Are they Manchurian candidates? I mean, that's something right up my wheelhouse. I see what you're saying, but they're so good on food, obesity, health, that's not in alignment with the powers that be in corporate America and big pharma. And they're like,
but Michael,
they're saying Ozempic is like terrible. I mean, that's going to be the biggest cash cow for big pharma for the next 20 years. So I hear that. I think that the people, the two arguments that I have seen that run on all of these criticisms of Casey Means are, she doesn't have the credential, and she didn't say anything about the COVID shot. I think these people like Dr. Bowden are myopically focused on what her position is on COVID. And I think that's a mistake. I'm not saying it's not important. I didn't get the shot. I'm in the freaking Atlantic magazine as a white dude who won't get the shot. And I did an interview with Derek Thompson in, like, I don't know, early 2021 or so. I don't remember when it was. And like, I was saying, well, all the reasons I didn't want to get the vaccine. And so I agree with the people who are criticizing her. I just think it's a myopic view. And then, okay, the conspiratorial. Will the vaccine manufacturers win the day? Maybe. Are they better positioned to win the day with Casey Means versus Dr. Bowden? Yes, I agree. But I think that as Surgeon General on the food side, I think we're in a really good position. I'm not saying vaccines aren't important. They are. Okay. I would love to see information come out about whether they're safe or not. I don't know that that's going to happen. And I'm not saying Casey Means is going to deliver that.
Okay. Based on what you just said, I even wrote this down. If we're just talking about the health and wellness aspect of it, that's fine. That's fine. But there's a whole other aspect of the kind of like medical reform movement. But what I was thinking this morning when I was leaving the gym is that she is not. I think the problem is, and I think I'm doing this too, is that the MAHA movement is not the medical freedom movement. Some people in the MAHA movement believe in medical freedom. I think most of medical freedom people are in the MAHA movement, but they are two distinct things. And she's in the MAHA movement and not the medical freedom movement, it seems like. Because I don't think I think big food, like, they're going to be mad at her, but I don't think big pharma is going to be too mad at her, or like big tech, big med tech. I don't think they're going to have any problem with her. And it's, of course, you speak out against Ozempic because you're in the health and wellness space. That's an easy one to do. Semaglutide, retatrutide, tirzepatide, you can speak out against those. But even though they're going to be cash cows, as people really pick up on them, but
then who is she a Manchurian candidate for?
I mean, I don't know. I didn't say Manchurian candidate, but I do think that it is interesting how they came up out of seemingly nowhere, and then we're now leaders in this movement.
Is she a Manchurian candidate for the Rockefellers? Is she going to usher in AI overlords, Michael, with her AI tech?
I don't know.
Oh, gosh darn.
I mean, Brad, what's your take? Charles and I just went back and forth. What is your?
What's my take on Casey Means being Surgeon General? I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters at all who they would have picked. We're going to get the exact. I think the results are if they've been decided, and Casey Means is just the person to carry him out, is what's going on. She owns her company Levels, right? And there's some AI health tracking stuff like that in there, and is she going to be really push that as a Surgeon General and, within the administration, more AI in our lives? I could see that happening. Am I happy about it? Not really. I prefer the old fashioned way. I do wear a whoop and I track my stuff, but it's not, I could not wear a whoop and I'm be fine. I don't think that we want more people relying on that. I think people need to find their intuition a little bit more.
Who was the Surgeon General under Biden?
Who was a Surgeon General under Biden?
Kurt. I was actually just reading something from a report. I can't think of his name.
But we don't know. Is Casey Means an improvement?
Probably.
So what, Charles? What is the? I know we got to move on, but I just want to ask, what are the distinct beliefs of of the medical freedom movement other than vaccines?
I wouldn't say that I'm in the medical freedom movement to speak for them, but I think vaccines is a major one in this time period in which we're living. And if that is not one that you're going to be willing to speak out on, then I don't think you are a leader in that movement. RFK melds the two. He speaks out against what he feels are problems with that, as well as food. They distinctly focus on that one topic. And so, there was an interview I saw with Callie where he said that that's just not his area, and he wouldn't recommend babies get the vaccine, but wouldn't answer as to whether or not it would be pulled from the schedule. He would not answer that question. And this was old, but he would not answer that question. And so it's just I in this moment that we're in, given what we just stepped out of, that is top of mind. I get it's not all about vaccines, but a lot of it is. They were trying to give us vaccine passports, and we had to carry cards around to go into store. That is, it's a major thing, and you should probably have a public opinion on it. And a lot of people have been tweeting Casey asking if she would recommend they be pulled. Now that you're being nominated, would you recommend that they be pulled from the schedule for babies? And she has not answered yet. And I think that is a question you should probably answer if you're going to be head of the if you're going to be Surgeon General.
And I think a lot of that onus is on RFK, not on Casey Means.
You don't think it should be on the Surgeon General?
He's got to produce the backing to make that decision. She can't just come in as Surgeon General and be like, all right, I've decided we're going to remove it from the childhood schedule. That's RFK needs to produce the evidence. I think it's out there. I agree with the move. I want him to do it. My baby boy is not vaccinated, not a single one. I'm on board, but this whole directing that all at Casey Means, it seems silly to me.
I think the point is that they want her to take a position. What is your position on it? Not, are you going to go there and do this? Because you might not have the ability to, but where do you stand on it? So at the very least, we know. I think she should have to say, where do you stand on this very commanding and defining issue of our time? As the Surgeon General of the United States, where do you stand on that issue?
I think she needs more information. I think that it's a reasonable thing to say she needs more information. And who's pulling Kennedy's strings behind the scenes? It's Senator Bill Cassidy, if you guys are wondering.
Why is it Senator Bill Cassidy? Why do you know?
Because in order to get his nomination, Senator Bill Cassidy's a doctor. He gets lots of pharma money on the right. He's the chairman of the health committee that nominated, and he, in a closed door meeting for hours before he was the holdout vote, extracted a bunch of concessions on behalf of who? I don't know, from RFK to get him through the health committee. So if anybody's talking to him behind the scenes, directing him, saying he can't go towards vaccines, it's Senator Bill Cassidy and his handlers. That's who it is.
At the end of the day, I think the point that you made before about her focus being on the food aspect, I think that is fine. And if that is what the Surgeon General's office for the next couple of years is going to be defined as, okay. I just think that what I don't want is there's this conflation often with life coaches and therapists, where you can become a life coach. It's very easy. You take a quick course and you're a life coach, and then a lot of them then portray themselves as somewhat therapists. And so I think it's a similar sense. Now, I'm not saying she's not a doctor, don't get me wrong, but I'm saying in terms of the health and wellness space, like she's doing the health and wellness. And so like, that's fine. If that's what you're focused on, great. But like you guys have spoken out on so many of these things, I would expect you to have an opinion on the medical side of it too. But if that's not where you're going to be, then okay, I guess.
I just disagree. I think she has an opinion on the medical side. Medical side is not just vaccines. There's other things. There are other aspects to medicine than just vaccines.
I hear
if
ya.
she's a little squishy on vaccines, I
But I don't know that she's
that
squishy.
point.
My point is we can't get an answer. That's what I don't know if she's squishy or not. Because I'm assuming she is because she won't answer, but
That guy.
Senator Bill Cassidy. I didn't know what he looked like. I couldn't have picked that guy out of a lineup.
That's how they like him.
Oh boy. That's not what they want. They will like fame and power and all stuff.
And then the last point, 70% of American kids are obese.
70%?
I don't know what the number is. What's the number?
I mean,
I wouldn't be surprised. 70%, like not
70% obese would be surprising. 70% overweight would not be surprising.
I think it's easier for kids to be obese because of how short they are. So like I feel like they kind of tip over into that scale.
Well, a lot of kids are obese. Ignore my 70%. A lot of kids are obese. I think that is if you had to rank the issues in priority order, I'm putting that one above vaccines.
Well,
I'll say with the advent, or not even advent, but expansion of GLP-1s, I doubt that's going to remain an issue in the next like 15 years. Like I really feel like.
You feel like kids are not going to be obese because they're going to get on the Ozempics?
I mean,
we're going to have worse problems.
Yeah.
There's more things than Ozempic.